So I'll talk about the glory of this particular Damodar pastime from 3 distinct perspectives. And we will have questions at any time during the class. You can feel free to ask questions anytime, and I will feel free to not answer them. What I mean is, if the question is not directly relevant, I'll wait till the end, otherwise I'll answer it immediately. So the first characteristic of this pastime is that it is the first major pastime without any villain in it. If we see Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes, as they are described in the Dasham Skanda of the Bhagavatam, the 10th canto, they begin with one after another, demons coming and acting as villains. So there is Putana, then Shaktasur, then Trunavarta, and all these demons come. And of course, there are pastimes where Krishna shows his universal form to Mother Yashoda, or Krishna steals butter. But this is the first major pastime, which is remembered, celebrated. Krishna stealing butter pastimes keep happening constantly in one's childhood. But this particular pastime is a pastime without any demon involved directly. In one sense, we can understand Krishna Lila by comparing it with movies or novels. Of course, there is significant difference, but there are significant similarities. The idea is that if we consider this is our experienced reality, our daily reality. Now, a defining characteristic of our daily reality is that it is boring. Life is not always interesting or enjoyable. Our job becomes boring, we stay at the same place, over time it becomes boring, and we need a break from it. And that break is offered by entertainment. Entertainment essentially means we go away from our daily reality towards some kind of virtual reality. However, this aspiration for some better reality, some richer, sweeter, more relishable reality, which often takes us into an illusion that occurs because we belong to a better reality. So this is our daily reality. From here we can go down to a illusory or a virtual reality, but we can rise up to a spiritual reality. And while both of these are moving away from our present reality, one takes us towards eternal reality. Another takes us away even from the temporary reality. But still, because both of them are meant at one level to draw our attention away from our daily reality, so there are some similarities in it. Now Prabhupada translates the word Leela in a particular way in English. What is this translation? Pastime. Now generally every language, every word has a particular, not just a denotation, but also connotation. So those connotations are implications. They are very difficult to translate. The literal meaning can be translated. So pastime sometimes means just something done to pass time when you are bored. But that is not the meaning of Leela. Leela actually means something which is done to express one's love. So pastime does not here simply convey the idea of some way to just kill time. What it conveys is there is no obligation in it. If somebody says, okay, tennis is my pastime, what that means, it could mean is, okay, I'm just playing it because I'm bored. Or it could mean that I'm not obliged to play it. I'm not a professional player. I don't have to play it to earn a living. I'm playing it because I enjoy it. So here pastime doesn't mean wasting time. It means something Krishna does for his pleasure. So now, if we consider a movie, generally any kind of entertainment, whether it be movie or novel, it moves forward based on tension. That there has to be some suspense, some kind of anxiety, some conflict, which creates the interest and even intrigue among the readers or viewers. What's going to happen next? And one of the common sources of conflict is a villain. So there's a hero and there's a villain. And the conflict between them is what creates the tension. Now, when there is no villain in a movie, then what happens? Then human nature has to become the villain. What that means is, by our human nature, we are finite beings. So A says something to B, but B understands it to something else, and they have a misunderstanding, and both are good people, but they start fighting with each other. And that's how the tension comes in over there. So tension has to be created in some way. And when there is no action, when there is no villain, and there is no direct confrontation or violence, then that time, if the movie is to be riveting, there has to be a deeper glimpse or deeper insight into the minds and hearts of the characters. Okay, what is this person thinking? What is this person feeling? How is this person processing this event? And to the extent that that is interesting, what are the thoughts and feelings and intentions and motivations of particular people? To that extent, that movie or novel becomes interesting. So similarly, in the Damodara Lila, the absence of a villain could, in one sense, decrease the dramatic action. But what it does is, it gives us an opportunity to go deeper into the minds and hearts of the characters. So the heart of Krishna, the heart of Yashoda, and the hearts of the Vrajavasis also. In this way, this pastime gives us a very intimate picture of Krishna. Now, if we consider this pastime, there are 5 rasas, 5 prominent flavors in which Krishna relates with his devotees in the spiritual world. Which are those 5 flavors? Does anyone remember? Let's start from the Shanta, Dasya, then Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. Wonderful, thank you. So Shanta is passive admiration. Oh, God is so wonderful. I'm just awestruck by His glory. So in this, from awe, you can have 2 words. One time I gave a class, and one devotee came with a bright smile on his face. Prabhu, this class was awful. I was shocked. I was looking at him, and he was broadly smiling. I was wondering, is he being sarcastic or what? Then I realized he didn't know English very well. He wanted to say class was awesome. And he made it awful. So, actually, awe is the sense of appreciation, fear, admiration, all of that combined to see something wonderful. So that is Shantaras. Then Dasya is active servitude. Oh, God is so great, I want to do something for Him. Then after Sakhya is God is my friend. The highest rasas are considered Vatsalya and Madhurya. In Vatsalya, the devotee treats the Lord like a child. I'll explain about Vatsalya a little bit later soon. But the idea is that while Krishna is the supreme, Krishna doesn't delight in being the supreme. Krishna delights in the reciprocation of love. And that is why he sometimes takes a subordinate role. Krishna wants to relish love in all flavors, in all relationships. If God is supreme, then the only relationship he can have is he is supreme and everybody is subordinate to him. But that would mean he would be deprived of many other relationships. And he doesn't want to be deprived. And nor does he want his devotees to have relationships only in particular flavors. That's why he he's a Rasaraj. He relishes relationships in multiple flavors. And one of the relationships, he takes on the relationship of a child for his mother. And then beyond that, there is the Madhurya Ras, where it is the conjugal relationship between him and the gopis. Now, in general, in the higher rasas, See in the Madhurya Rasa also, in the Rasa Panchadhyaya, which is chapters 29 to 33 in the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 10th canto, which are considered to be the heart of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the most cherished, most intimate chapters in the entire Bhāgavatam. In that pastime also, there is no villain. There, again, there is a misunderstanding. Krishna thinks that the gopis are proud, and the gopis later think that Krishna is unloving. So, at that time, also there is a deeper glimpse into the hearts of the gopis and the heart of Krishna. So, with respect to the higher rasas, often the focus becomes more on the characters and not so much on the action in terms of the confrontation between the hero and the villain. It's there, but it's not so much needed. So, if you want to know a character, there are some movies which are just action movies. And if the action is good, the fight scenes are good, they're entertaining. But at the end of it, if we don't know the character, okay, why is this character fighting? What is the motivation? What is driving this character? Then there is not much connect with the character. And it could just be a robot fighting also. So, what happens is in Vatsalya and Madhurya pastimes, the action is there, but it's not that dramatic. There's no confrontation with any villain. But in that process, we can get a closer, deeper picture of Krishna and his devotees. Now, the Madhurya Ras pastimes are the highest. However, those pastimes can be relatively easily misunderstood. When Krishna is interacting with the gopis, then we may think of that pastime as similar to a mundane male-female relationship. And then that may lead us to trigger similar mundane emotions in our heart, which can take us away from Krishna. So those emotions can be more rajasic in the mode of passion, and it can go down to ignorance also, if they are triggered. However, if we approach Krishna's pastime with his mother, Krishna is a child. So at that time also, we may, in one sense, have mundane emotions. That is, that we may think, just as Krishna is a small child, and Mother Yashoda is his mother, similarly I have my child. And now that may be mundane, but among all forms of love in the world, a love of a parent for a child is among the most selfless. In fact, while all living beings have children, nature has arranged human reproduction or human progeny in such a way that the human progeny needs the maximum care. For not just a few months or a few weeks or a few months, for several years human progeny needs care. And that needing to care for another life form, that actually brings out the selflessness within a person. So even if we are attracted to Krishna's Vatsalya pastime from a mundane perspective, Krishna is like my child and I am like a mother or a father, even then the emotion that is triggered is sattvic. Sattvic in the sense that it is, I have to care for someone, and that is uplifting. So the misunderstanding leading to the impurity is much lesser. Whereas understanding that will gradually lead to upliftment, the possibility of that is much higher. So there are no villains in this pastime, but there is dramatic action. And that action is more in terms of revealing the hearts of the characters involved. So that's the first aspect. Now the second is that this is the first pastime in the entire, you could say almost in all of Vrindavan Lila, or if not all of Krishna Lila, this is the first pastime, definitely Vrindavan Lila, where Krishna shows fear. Vaktram niniya bhayabhavanaya sthitasya samam vimoyati bhirapiyat bibheti. Right in the first canto of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, in the first major prayers that are offered in the Bhāgavatam. Which are the first major prayers in the Bhāgavatam? Sorry? Yes, Kunti Maharani's prayers. Thank you. So there she says that the Krishna is Vaktram Niniya. He's looking down. Bhaya Bhavanaya Stitasya. He's filled with fear. Samam Vimohayati. And this astonishes me. I can't understand this. I can't process it. See, if somebody is angry with us, or even if we are afraid of someone, even if they're not angry with us, then what happens is we generally avoid looking at them in the eyes. We look everywhere. Suddenly, if somebody is angry with us, suddenly the floor looks very interesting. So we generally avoid meeting the eyes of those who not only who are angry with us, but all the more so if we have angered them. Sometimes that person may be angry just because they are short-tempered or because something else has triggered them. Even then we will avoid looking at them. What we will hope is that they don't look at us. They don't notice us and we can get away from the range of their anger. But if we have angered them and if we have to meet them, then we try to avoid meeting their eyes. So Krishna is like that over here. Krishna is fearful. So he's looking down in fear. Now this is amazing at multiple levels, both at a philosophical level and at a relational level. At a philosophical level, it is God who is both the source of fear and the source of fearlessness. Krishna is the source of fear. Srila Prabhupada's name, what was his birth name? Abhay. So Abhay was his birth name, it became Abhay Charan after initiation. So the idea is that God is the source of fearlessness. One who takes shelter of Krishna's lotus feet becomes fearless. Bhaja hure mana shinandanandana abhaya charana ravindare. So at one level, Krishna is the source of fearlessness. At another level, Krishna is the source of fear. It is said in the Bhagavatam that Madbhayad vati vatoyam Suryastapati madbhayad Madbhayad varshati indra dahati agni Muttyuscharati madbhayad. That it is out of fear of the Lord that the sun rises on time. It is out of fear of the Lord that the wind flows. It is out of fear of the Lord that the rains fall. So here, this fear is not fear can have two different connotations. One is the fear associated with terror, where we are afraid that something will destroy me. There's another kind of fear that is associated with displeasure. That means if I love someone, if I respect someone, I care for someone, I'm afraid of displeasing that person. And these two fears are not the same. So in one sense, the first kind of fear, that somebody will destroy me, that I might do something which will provoke someone and that person will destroy me, that fear is not very palatable. And that fear doesn't necessarily help us to do good things. We might protect ourselves better, but that can make us paranoid. However, the fear that I don't want to displease those whom I respect, those who are my well-wishers, that fear is actually a healthy fear. And that fear keeps us on the right track. So Krishna is the source of both fear and fearlessness. Fear in the sense that, in the second sense that, for those who are in knowledge, who are aware of the nature of reality, they understand that I do not want to displease God. Not because God is vindictive, but because if I displease Him, that indicates that I am myself going on a self-destructive path. And I should not do that. So, generally now, as children, should children be afraid of their parents? Well, certainly parents should not be afraid of their children. Of course, parents can be afraid for their children. Okay, my child should not get hurt, but sometimes the parents have to discipline their children. And that's not a pleasant thing to do, but that's a necessary thing to do. No, if a child is not afraid of the parents, then maybe the other children have to be afraid of that child. Because who will put boundaries on that child? Isn't it? Who will discipline that child? Same principle we can say, if somebody says, I'm not afraid of God. If somebody has no fear of God, then such a person needs to be feared. Because what will bring boundaries in that person's life? I'm not saying that everybody who's atheistic is necessarily having no boundaries, but it's quite likely that the boundaries that come from the understanding that I'm accountable to some higher being, those boundaries often keep us civilized and virtuous. So there is, at a philosophical level, Krishna is both the source of fear and fearlessness. So fear, so that we don't cross boundaries, ethical or legal or moral boundaries. But fearlessness, in the sense that when we are on the right path, we know that Krishna is with us. Matchitta sarvadargani mat prasadat tarishyasi. So it's like if we are going on a dark alley and we see somebody coming, heavy set person, we might become a little fearful. But then we say that person is actually a police person. Then, rather than fear, we feel fearless. So on the other hand, if some thief was coming to sneak in on us, and the thief sees the police person, now the thief becomes fearful and goes away. So Krishna is the source of fear for those who are violating boundaries. And Krishna is the source of fearlessness for those who are living within boundaries. Just like a police person is a source of fear for the lawbreakers and a source of fearlessness for the law abiders. So at the philosophical level, it's Krishna who is the source of fear or fearlessness. So how can it be that Krishna is feeling fear? So that is the magic of the Leela. Krishna, in one sense, is never afraid of anyone. But when he is performing his pastimes, at that time, as I said, he wants to have the complete gamut of relationships. And in each relationship, he wants to have the complete gamut of emotions that are associated with that relationship. So like a child who has done mischief, child feels afraid. What will my mother say? What will my mother do? So Krishna is similarly afraid. He knows that he has done some mischief. He knows that he has broken some pots. He knows that he has wasted butter. So he is angry. But initially he is angry and he did all this. But after the anger subsided, the anger is replaced by fear. Now what is my mother going to do? And because of that fear, he initially ran away. But eventually when he was caught, he was really scared. What is my mother going to do now? So now, this fear at a philosophical level is incomprehensible. But at a level of pastime, at the level of Leela, what we understand is Krishna is simply relishing the sweetness of the relationship over there. And within that, every emotion that is there, he is accommodating, including that. For any relationship to be fulfilling, we could say there are multiple levels in a relationship. First is, we could say we feel the need for a relationship. Say for example, we feel the need for God. That is, we realize that I'm in a vulnerable situation in this world. Even if I can arrange for various ways of protecting myself, but still everything is fallible, everything is temporary. So feeling the need for God is one level of relationship. And that is good. So we may have some devotees, senior devotees who guide us, our spiritual master, our Diksha Guru, our Shiksha Guru, our counselor, our mentor. They guide us. So we feel the need for guidance. That is a good step. If we don't feel the need for guidance, then we are really in need of guidance. We all need guidance, but To not feel that need, that rarely indicates that we have become independently thoughtful. That just indicates that we have become reckless. So, it's good to feel the need for guidance. And that is, we could say, the beginning of the relationship. But as we grow, like a child-parent relationship, the child feels the need, should I do this, should I not do that, ask the parents. But then, for that relationship to grow further, there is the need for a relationship, and there is also the need to be needed in the relationship, or need to feel needed in the relationship. So if we have, say, some spiritual guide, or spiritual master, or Shiksha Guru, or who is very expert, very experienced, very wise, and whatever problem we have, they always have ready solutions. And then we feel very inspired and impressed by them. But then one day, we're talking with them and they say, I've been facing this problem for a long time. And we've been tried this and tried this and tried this. And nothing is working. I'm not sure what to do. Do you have any ideas? Now, if we are at a very superficial level, we think, hey, I thought you were perfect. You're just putting on a facade of being perfect. You also have feet of clay like everyone else. Now, if we had that utopian idea, that might create a rupture in our relationship, might injure our relationship. But if we have an appreciation of real relationships, what we will see is, that means that this exalted person considers me trustworthy enough to share the problems that they are facing. And that indicates a further proximity, intimacy in the relationship. It's just like in a child, generally children have problems and they go to the parents solve the problems. But if the child becomes a young adult and an adult, then the parents may share their problems with the child. We have this issue, what do you think we can do about it? And that doesn't mean the parents are imperfect. That means the parents trust that their child has become trustworthy. So similarly, in any relationship, for that relationship to become closer, we not only need that relationship, we need to feel needed in that relationship. And that actually, as I said, takes the relationship at a much deeper level. And Krishna wants to give that experience even to his devotees. And when Krishna, so that's why when Krishna acts hungry, Mother Yashoda, I'm at the start of this pastime. Okay. The phone has a need to feel needed now. So, when Krishna at the start of this pastime, Mother Yashoda is churning butter and singing Krishna's glories, and he goes to Mother Yashoda and catches her legs, catches the grinding mortar, and he says, please. He doesn't even speak. There's an interesting dynamic in this pastime, at least as it is given in the Bhagavatam. Krishna doesn't speak a single word in this pastime, at least in his interaction with Mother Yashoda. So Krishna is running and Krishna is not speaking at all. So you could say, like 100 years ago, we had the silent movies. So at that time, the people had to act much more to convey, because there were no words to complement the visuals. So, of course, in later retellings, in Gopal Champur, Krishna speaks on some occasions. I'll come to that later. But Krishna doesn't speak. Krishna just holds on to Mother Yashoda's grinding, and she understands he's hungry. And that she feels needed. Similarly, when Krishna commits mischief. Krishna's mischief is not just so that he can have fun. It is, Mother Yashoda feels needed. I need to discipline my child. And for that purpose, she takes on a stern demeanor. And Krishna takes on an appropriately docile demeanor. He's fearful. Yeah, I've committed a mistake. Please don't punish me too much. So, this fear is actually is a reflection of the deepening of the relationship between Krishna and Mother Yashoda. So, the need to be needed is a vital need in today, and it is a need that cannot be taken away. So, if we consider feminism, now feminism has also had many generations, because the third or fourth generation of feminism is quite disruptive. So, first and second generation of feminism were more about women should have equal rights, property rights, inheritance rights, and other things. But the third and fourth generation of feminism are very aggressive. Say, for example, they say like marriage and motherhood are traps which prevent women from having a fulfilling career. Okay, even if you accept that premise, what that neglects is the point that everyone has this need to be needed. And in 6 of the, I don't know how it is in Australia, but in the 6 biggest cities in America, I believe New York, DC, LA, San Francisco, Chicago, and one more city. And 6 of these cities, among Caucasian families, the number of pets are more than the number of children. So what has happened over here? Okay, you say motherhood or parenthood is a trap, we don't want it. But then the need to be needed is there. The need to nurture is there. And instead of directing it towards human children, we direct it toward pets. So we cannot have a unidimensional vision of the human person. So even Krishna in his relationship in the spiritual world, there is that need to be needed. And Mother Yashoda feels, I have to discipline Krishna. If I don't discipline him, then what will happen? She's deeply concerned, she's worried. Now at one level, it might seem like a little overreaction. That Krishna has just eaten some butter, disrupted some pots. Mother Yashoda is running all around the house and then around the courtyard. And she has a stick about to beat him. And then she's taking a rope and tying him up. Oh, what's going on? So actually, it's not overreaction. There's a history to this. That previously, the Vraja ladies have come to Mother Yashoda and had told her that Krishna steals butter from our houses. And now, Mother Yashoda hears them and she looks at Krishna. And Krishna makes such a sweet, innocent face. Stealing butter? He says, why should I steal butter? Mother Yashoda Maiya, your butter is the best butter. So he's also applying butter on her mind now. So he says, your butter is the best butter. Why would I steal anyone? They're just lying. And Krishna is so innocent and vehement in his denial that Mother Yashoda she just laughs and she offers some gifts and pacifies the Vraja ladies with sweet words and they go away. But what happens when we love for someone and we care for someone, if we hear something negative about them, we may not want to believe it. But still, that thought, that information just stays inside our head. And it just lurks behind, creating a nagging fear, a nagging doubt. So similarly for Mother Yashoda, could it really be true that my Kanha is stealing butter? And then when she sees how Krishna has broken all the butter pots and Krishna is giving the butter to the monkeys, it means her fears are confirmed. Her fear, it's all that these Vraja ladies were telling me. It's all true. Krishna is doing all this. And then, a child is just mischievous and restless. The parents think about the future of the child. So Mother Yashoda, at one level her fear is selfish. How can my child be like this? But another level, it is not selfish. Kavi Karanapur and Anandandavan Champu says that Mother Yashoda is thinking that if it is, now it seems to be true that Krishna is stealing butter. And he has been doing this, who knows for how long. And the Vraja ladies have been complaining about it. He says, if Krishna gets the reputation of being a thief, then in future, who will give their daughter in marriage to him? and therefore I have to discipline him right now. And that is why her anger is, in one sense, circumstantially it seems to be overreaction, but it is not. There is both the history and there is a future. There's accumulated apprehension from the past, from her history, and there is the fear about the future. And all that comes up in her anger. And while she is angry at Krishna, Krishna is fearful. So this fear is actually a testament or a testimony to the glory of the love of Mother Yashoda. Right? Who can actually make God fearful? Satank netram, as the Damodarastakam is saying. So, atank is fear, deep fear, mortal fear. He is in such fear. What is Mother Yashoda going to do to me now? And Krishna, by this fear, what happens is he tries to pacify. He tries to pacify Mother Yashoda. Initially, Mother Yashoda has a stick in her hand. But when she sees how fearful Krishna is, then she puts aside the stick and she says, okay, I want to punish him, but I don't want to terrorize him. Generally, when there is disciplining to be done, there's always a thin line. How much do we discipline? If we discipline too much, that suppose a child has just gone away and gone on the road playing and has got in trouble, but we protected the child. We want to be angry with the child. Don't go and run on the road like this. Don't go and talk with strangers. Don't go to unfamiliar places. But maybe if we become too angry, the child will go upset and may run away again. There is that fear also. It's like, say, we have invited some respected guest to our home for prasad. And then they are late. So we are annoyed, but we don't want to express that annoyance. Because they're elder, maybe they are older to us, they're senior to us, they're respected. If we are too angry, they may just go away without taking prasad. We don't want that. But at the same time, we are annoyed. So we will not say, you have come late. We may say, prasad has become cold. So there is an indirect way of expressing displeasure. And those who are wise, they will understand it. Like, once this happened, I had come with one devotee, I had got. So sometimes some people just don't get it. So prasad has become cold. Can't you heat it again? I just missed the point completely. One time one devotee came, after I made this point only in a class, after that he came and he asked me, I have a very serious philosophical question. I said, okay. He says, if we insult someone, and if that person doesn't get the insult, then do we get the karma? So, I was thinking that if you are karma conscious, then why insult someone at all, Then of course I explained that there is intent, content and consequence. What was our intent? What did we speak? Now even if the consequence in terms of the person understanding was not there, karma is determined by all these three factors. What we did, why we did, and what was the result of what we did. But anyway, the point is that Mother Yashoda doesn't want to be too strong with Krishna. That's why she puts aside the stick and she ties Krishna. So the fear is there in Krishna, and that actually is flavoring, enriching her relationship of Mother Yashoda with Krishna. And it's the first pastime where Krishna exhibits fear. Even when Putana has come, Krishna closes his eyes, but the acharyas are quite emphatic. That is not due to fear. It is just due to displeasure. Krishna doesn't want to look at somebody who is a killer of children. And even when Trinavat comes and takes Krishna away, Krishna's eyes are wide open because Krishna is having a free air ride. And he's enjoying it. The only other time when Krishna expresses fear is later when the demon Shalva attacks Dwarka and he creates an effigy of Vasudeva. And he cuts off not the effigy, a replica, illusory replica of Vasudeva, and he chops off the head of Vasudeva. And Krishna is grief-struck at that time. What happened? But then within a few moments, Krishna recovers. So generally, Krishna exhibits fear primarily in the Vatsalya Ras, in that relationship. Otherwise, there is anger when some of his devotees are endangered or threatened or troubled. But fear is rare. So it's generally in the Vatsalya Ras. And in the last, so there are no villains in this pastime, and yet there is fear. Normally we would say it's a villain which creates fear. Sometimes the villain is very powerful, and then the hero also may be afraid of that villain, till the hero becomes strong enough to fight. But here there is no villain, and yet there is fear. And the last speciality of this pastime, again in the chronology of Vrindavan pastimes, this is the first pastime where prayers are offered to Krishna. There is the Garbhastuti, but that is not in Vrindavan. Garbhastuti is the prayers that are offered to Krishna when he is in his mother's womb, Garbha, the womb. But those are in Mathura. In Vrindavan, the Vrajavasis don't pray to Krishna. They pray for Krishna. They pray for Krishna. When Putana catches Krishna and takes him, or Krishna goes away with Putana, she has not caught hold of him, he has caught hold of her, and go away. And after that, they will recover Putana. Then they put tilak on his body and chant various Vishnu mantras for the protection of Krishna. So why is that? Because the Vrajavasis, they don't really think of Krishna as God. At one level, they know he is God, but another level, that knowledge has gone into the background of their consciousness. Their love for him is so great, I think he is just our lovable lad. He's just the prince of Vrindavan, and we have to take care of him. So they are, of course, a religious community. So for them, Vishnu is God. And they think that Vishnu has specially blessed Krishna. And that's why Krishna is always protected. That's why Krishna has, although he goes through these extraordinary dangers, he still stays safe. He always, miraculously seemingly, emerges unscathed through bone-chilling dangers. And Gargamuni also plays a role in that. When Gargamuni comes for the first time to Vrindavan and he names Krishna, there's a Namakaran of Krishna and Balram. So now, as a Brahmana, he doesn't want to speak a lie. But at the same time, we often think of opposites, either we speak a lie or we speak a truth. But reality is not that simple. There could be what you call, in between lying and speaking the truth is like a selective disclosure of truth. We don't tell a full truth. And sometimes that's what is required in the best interest of everyone involved. So what does Gargacharya do? He makes the horoscope of Krishna and he says that this child is just like Vishnu. Now, one of the names of Vishnu is Asamurdhva. That there's no one equal to him, no one is superior to him. So to say that somebody is like Vishnu, the only person who is like Vishnu is Vishnu himself. So, in one sense, he is giving the truth. But in another sense, it could be said that this is a glorification. In traditional India, when a couple would get married, often when they are going in a procession, it may say that they look like Lakshmi Narayan. They are just like Sitaram. So when this is said, now it is understood that this is like a glorification. It is both a glorification and an aspiration. And this is how their life can be. So now he is speaking from a philosophical perspective to say that actually there is Vishnu only. But Nanda Maharaj takes it as, he's glorious like Vishnu. And also he says, previously he was the son of Vasudeva. Now, previously can mean many things. Now suppose on a cold night, a person takes a dozen ice creams. And the next morning they wake up with a terrible throat. Previous night they were saying ice cream. And now it is ice cream. So now, was it due to their past karma that now they have a sore throat? Yeah, it is past karma, but past night's karma. Not past life's karma. So similarly, when he says previously, Nanda Maharaj thinks that this refers to a previous lifetime. That, we are all related to each other. In previous life also we are related. So in a previous lifetime he was the son of Vasudeva. But when he is saying previously, what he means? In this lifetime only, previously. Before he came under your care, before you became his foster father, he was the son of Vasudeva. So in a sense, there is both awareness and non-awareness of Krishna's divinity. So there are some emergency situations when suddenly the forest fire comes up and the Gopas pray to Krishna, or Indra starts breaking havoc and then the Vrajavasis pray to Krishna. But those are very rare. Mostly it is the Vrajavasis not praying to Krishna, but praying for Krishna. So this is the first time when there is a prayer to Krishna. And significantly, this prayer is not by a Vrajavasi. This prayer is by... Who offers this prayer to Krishna? Yes, Nalakuver and Manigriv. That after Krishna releases them for their 3 bodies, they offer prayers to Krishna. And their prayers are quite instructive. So basically for all of us, if we consider, we can all aspire for the level of love that Mother Yashoda has for Krishna, that the Vrajavasis have for Krishna. That is our aspiration. But at the same time, for us, what is much more relatable is the prayers that Nalakur and Maniguru offer. Because they are beholding these pastimes as trees in Vrindavan, in the Maharaj's courtyard. And they are marveling at those pastimes. And they understand that although they have beheld these pastimes for a long time, out of their humility, they think we are not yet qualified to enter into those pastimes. So they say, Vani Gudanu Kathane Shravanau Kathayam. They say, basically they offer prayers saying that, let all our senses be engaged in your service. Let we speak your glories with our mouth. Let we hear your glories with our ears. Let our hands be engaged in your service. Let our eyes behold. It's interesting what they say is, Drishtau Tanam Bhavat Tanunam. Drishtau Tanu Bhratam Bhavat Tanunam. They say that let us behold the form of your devotees. Because beholding them is non-different from beholding you. Now what are they meaning by this? Here they are thinking of the devotees like the Vrajavasis. Their love for Krishna is so much that, see, in general, looking at Krishna and beholding Krishna will bring some devotion in our heart. But if we see somebody who is deeply devoted to Krishna, when we come in the presence of saintly devotees, our spiritual master, other saintly devotees, just by seeing the intensity of their devotion to Krishna is enriched is awakened in our hearts. So yes, darshan of Krishna is important. But darshan of those who are devoted to Krishna, that is more potent, or often can be more potent in awakening devotion to Krishna. They say that we had the darshan of all these exalted Vrajavasis. So please let us keep having that darshan. And this is the mood of the Bhagavatam. Now Parikshit Maharaj he appeared, you could say, 2 generations later. Many of us may sometimes feel we were not, when we understand about Prabhupada's glories and the wonderful ways in which Krishna consciousness was spread, may feel, I came 1 or 2 generations later, I didn't get the, Prabhupada. Parikshit Maharaj was like that. He came after Krishna had come and departed. He didn't really get to have any direct interaction with Krishna. Of course, he was protected by Krishna in his mother's womb, but no interaction after that. His lifelong is searching for Krishna. That's the very implication of his name. But he saw Krishna through seeing and hearing Shukadeva Goswami. He is completely immersed in Krishna. So for all of us, The Damodara Lila is both a reminder of the wonderful nature of the love of Krishna and his devotees in Vrindavan. At the same time, it is also, especially to the kind of prayers for bhakti that are offered by Nalakura Manigriv, it is a pointer towards how we can find our path from where we are towards Krishna. So the prayer of Satyavrat Muni, which we sing in Damodarastakam, is also similar. There are initial first 2 verses are describing the pastime. The remaining 6 verses are actually describing Satyavat Muni's heart. And he's aspiring, let me remember you, Lord, let me behold you, let me relish your pastimes, please bless me with bhakti. So this is a month where we can also offer our heart's prayers to Krishna, that we may all be enriched with devotion and progress thus towards the eternal world of devotion that is demonstrated through the Damodara Lila. So I'll summarize. I spoke today about 3 ways in which Damodara Lila is special. What are the first? Does anyone remember? Yeah, no villains. There are no demons directly in this Lila. And that, what does it do? Like a movie with no villains, then for it to be intriguing, there has to be a deeper glimpse into the minds and hearts of the characters. So if you look at the various pastimes till now, this pastime gives us a deepest glimpse in the heart of Mother Yashoda and the heart of Krishna. And second was fear. It is the first pastime where Krishna exhibits fear. And from philosophical perspective, this is incomprehensible because Krishna is the source of both fearlessness and fear. The healthy fear that we should not displease him by transgressing boundaries, and the fearlessness when we are living within boundaries. But then how is it that Krishna feels fear? That is because Krishna wants not only to himself relish multiple relationships, but he also wants his devotees to relish all the flavors within those relationships. So in the Vatsalya Ras, one of the special flavors is that is a relationship where our need to feel needed is most fulfilled. And that Krishna wants to provide that for his devotees. For those devotees, for his Mother Yashoda. So he acts in a mischievous way and he runs away and then he feels fearful. So the Mother Yashoda feels the need that I have to discipline him, and then she disciplines him appropriately. And well, normally we would think that God should not have any fear, but when Krishna exhibits fear, that indicates, like when some very senior person, when parents start sharing their problems with the children, it indicates that the parents have now trust their children to be grown up enough and being trustworthy. So it indicates an intimacy of relationship. And last was prayers. So prayers to Krishna. So Brajvasis, they offer prayers for Krishna because they don't really think of Krishna as God. They know, but that's not how they think of him primarily. So there is both that awareness, non-awareness based on Garga Muni's selective disclosure of truth. But the Nalakuvir and Manigriv, they offer prayers to Krishna. And that's how they set an example for us. While we aspire for the love of the Brajvasis for Krishna, but we can act emulating the prayers of Nalakuvir Manigriv and aspire to engage in bhakti and thus progress towards the increasing enrichment of heart that is revealed in this Damodara Lila. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Mataji, in the mic.
Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu. Prabhu, in this Damodar pastime, there is also a significance of how Narada Muni came into picture, and then he was the one that was sort of the cause of their deliverance because of his mercy. But every time we hear about Damodar pastime, it's mostly about Yashoda Mai and Krishna and Manigriva and Nalakuvara. Is that because we human beings are more relatable to them, the Arjuna trees, and
Okay, good question. So we don't focus so much on Narad Muni in this pastime. Focus more on Yashoda Mai and Nalakur Manikri. Not necessarily. It depends on how much detail we are going into the pastimes. So it's again to take a movie analog. In a movie, there are certain characters who are prominently present. Now, some characters may have a lot of influence, but they may not be prominent characters. Like, say, if there is a movie about kings fighting against some other aggressors. Now, the king might have an ancestor who was a great hero. That ancestor is not here right now, but that ancestor's memory, that ancestor's example, that ancestor's strategies, they're all being used. So sometimes somebody may be a presence, but not without being a prominent actor. So their influence has to be seen accordingly. So maybe if a person just watches the movie, maybe then at that time, that person doesn't seem very prominent. But then you read some reviews, maybe here read some backstory. Oh, okay, this person is so important. You just maybe keep seeing the photo of that person, keep seeing that the hero is thinking about it. Who is this person? So it's like that. Narad Muni is not a prominent, active person in this pastime, but his influence is very much there. So, in one sense, after Krishna, Narad Muni is the most present character in the Bhagavatam. The Krishna is, at least a reference to Krishna is there in all the cantos of the Bhagavatam. And after that, there is not just a reference, there is also the appearance of Narad Muni in almost all the cantos of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So he is special character. And for those who know, yes, his significance is there. But these are the primary characters who feature in this pastime. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Shashi Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhu. The need to be needed, is that at the soul level or is that the mind and the body level?
Okay. Is the need to be needed at the level of need at the level of the soul, or is it the level of the body and mind? I'm not sure whether they can be differentiated like that so rigidly. It is the need to love and be loved. That comes from the soul. Now, depending on the body and the mind, that need may be that longing may be expressed in different ways. So similarly, at the level of the soul also, if you consider the 5 rasas, one of the key differences between Shanta and Dasya ras also is this need to feel needed. In Shanta ras, it is, Krishna is so great. Oh, I can't do anything for him. I can just admire him, nothing else. But in Dasya ras, yes, Krishna is great and I want to do something for him. I want to assist him, I want to serve him. So, Om Purnamada Purnamidam. If we focus only on the philosophical level, Krishna is perfect and complete. He doesn't need any of us. So that is at the spiritual level also, as our relationship with Krishna becomes more and more personal, there is a desire to serve. And even Yoga Maya creates that feeling within the devotee's heart that I am needed by Krishna. Not just I need Krishna, but Krishna needs me. And that's how the relationship becomes sweet. When Krishna is playing the flute and he's calling the gopis for the Ras Leela, it is both, the gopis see that as both a Krishna needing them and Krishna wanting them. Both. So it is there at the spiritual level also, especially in the more intimate pastimes, more intimate rasas. And at the material level also, it is there. Now, sometimes the need to feel needed can, depending on whether it is Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, it can express itself in various ways. Like in Tamoguna, what happens is the need to feel needed leads to us creating deliberate dependence among our subordinates. That means there is psychology sometimes talk about how sometimes some mothers, or not the mothers, parents, they may not want their child to grow up, so that they have someone who needs them and they take care of them always. So now our need to feel needed should not impede the growth of somebody else. So that is, if that happens, then the need to feel needed becomes tamasic, is expressed in a tamasic way, where rather than aiding the growth of the other person, we impede the growth of the other person. Am I addressing your question? Your question is something else? Okay. Any last question before we stop? Yes, please.
Can we experience all the 5 rasas? Hare Krishna Prabhu. Can we experience all the 5 rasas in our one life?
Can we experience the 5 rasas in our life? Which are talking about 5 rasas in relationship with Krishna or
Yes.
in this world?
In relationship with Krishna.
Okay. Well, in this world, it depends on karma. Karma means, so if somebody has a lot of good karma, they may have fans. So that's like Shantaras, Of course, most fans are not very Shanta in this world. So, but there is, see, we also in this world look for all the relationships. We want people who admire us. We want people who assist us. We want friends. We want parents. We want lovers. So, that is something which is we have that longing because we are parts of Krishna, and Krishna has that longing. Now, in our relationship with Krishna, we have a particular rasa. So our primary experience of Krishna is in that rasa. However, that does not mean that other rasas are incomprehensible for us. We do understand and appreciate devotees in other rasas also. At the same time, it is we experience Krishna in one particular rasa. The Bhaktivedanta Thakur in his I think Jaiva Dharma and Chaitanya Charan both talks about this, that now is the rasa always fixed? Prabhupada generally took the position Swarupa, our Swarupa is fixed. But Bhaktivedanta Thakur took a slightly different position. He talks about how there is this devotee who is on the spiritual path. He meets a Gaudiya Vaishnava Guru, and the Gaudiya Vaishnava Guru is the Sima Siddha Pranali in the Sakhyaras. And then he is doing meditation Sakhyaras. And after some time he comes back and he says to the Guru that, I don't feel satisfied, I don't feel enriched. Then the Guru gives him Siddha Pranali in the Madhurya Ras. So then he does meditation accordingly and he feels very deeply enriched by that. So Bhaktivedanta Thakur, now some of the Gaudiya Acharya, subsequent Gaudiya Acharya say that Bhaktivedanta Thakur is here illustrating that Madhurya Ras is higher than the Sakhya Ras. So he is not necessarily illustrating that Swarup is changeable. But the point is we do have relationship with Krishna in one flavor, primarily. Okay? Of course, there is Arjuna who is said to be expansion of Vishaka Sakhi. Yeah. So then there are 2 forms which can experience in 2 different rasas also. But the important thing is right now let us start with Dasya Ras. That is a mood of service is there in all relationships. Once we develop that, then whichever specific rasa we are connected with, that will be revealed eventually. Thank you very much. Shri Krishna Bhagwan ki, Damodara Lila ki, Shri Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanande.